Simon, in the era of content, is access all areas part and parcel of being a top athlete? The reason I ask, Coco Gauff has said that at the Open Down Under, there was a lack of privacy as far as she was concerned, and she criticised the broadcasters for showing her smashing a racket after losing to Elina Svitolina in the quarterfinals, and she really does lay into the ground with the racket, beating it time and time again. She lost in under an hour on court, but she waited. She waited until she was off court before she did it in her own racket 7 or 8 times, seemingly unknown that she was being picked up by the TV cameras. This was Gauff, and what happened?
Yeah, I tried to go somewhere where there's no cameras. Yeah, I kind of feel like I have a thing with the broadcast. I feel like certain moments, the same thing happened to Irina after I played her final U.S. Open. I feel like they don't need to broadcast. I tried to go somewhere where I thought there wasn't a camera because I don't necessarily like breaking rackets, but I lost 1 and 2. I broke 1 racket on quarters, I think, or round of 16 of French Open, I think, and I said I would never do it again on court because I don't feel like that's a good representation. But yeah, I tried to go somewhere where they wouldn't broadcast it, but obviously they did. So yeah, maybe some conversations we can be had, because I feel like at this tournament, the only private place we have is the locker room.
So, Simon, she's now saying we'll need to have a word with the broadcaster about this. But, I mean, are we in an era of practically nowhere is off limits?
Depends whose perspective you're talking from. If you're talking from the perspective of the broadcasters, who believe that they have an entitlement to be everywhere and anywhere, and ultimately the more they can deliver, the better they feel that their content delivery is. I mean, the issue is, why does she need to break rackets? Not why do people need to film her doing it.
Well, there it is. If you're watching on YouTube, that's her setting about her racket behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, maybe it's therapy for her. Maybe it gets her back into a certain state of mind. There's one thing about spontaneity. I mean, when back in the day when you saw players losing their mind on a tennis court, whether it be Nalbandian kicking the boarding that got him disqualified from Queens, or whether it be John McEnroe back in the day setting off with Ginny Connors, or going off against umpires, or breaking rackets, or whoever it might be, Elena Stasi back in the 70s, there was a spontaneity about it. Now we have an athlete is able to keep themselves together on a court,
yes,
find a place where they can break their racket,
right,
and then break their racket, which I find perplexing, but there must be some mindset behind it, and I'm sure her tennis, the manufacturers of her rackets are delighted to see the equipment they provide for her being broken. But as far as the broadcasters are concerned, well, it's a bit like the scorpion and the frog. They are what they are. This is what they do. Why would you be surprised? I mean, it
actually shows she cares. I mean, I think people will probably be like more connected to her for it, because we all have that feeling. I mean, Simon will have much empathy for her, won't you, with your recent paddle tantrums? So
or did he have a meltdown like?
No, but I've heard there has been 1 or 2 in recent time.
Oh, I see. Have you? You've broken the odd racket, have you?
They're hard to break, aren't they?
I just throw them at people.
All right. Yeah. The thing is, if you're the broadcaster, if you're the Australian broadcaster, and you capture that,
you're going to show it.
You're going to show it.
You're going to show it.
You're not going to show it.
I guess I suppose it depends what relationship you want with the athletes. And then when the athletes are guarded, and when managers of football clubs don't want to speak because they know that ultimately what they say is going to be weaponized and used against them, the flip side of that is that you get this standoff relationship where you don't get insight. So it's a balancing act. I mean, was there a necessity to show that? I don't think there is. I don't think there's any value in it. I can understand why they're doing it, because it's there to be done. And if it's there to be done, I guess you do it, because that's what you are. You're a broadcaster and you think there's something in that, and you can show this person in their worst, i.e. this is how a professional athlete behaves when they lose. And this is what they do. I mean, listen, I mean, the fact is that she's now, as I said a moment ago, she's moved from spontaneity to being able to compose herself. She has the wherewithal to say, I'm not going to break tennis rackets on a court again because I got sanctioned in front of everybody when I played at the French Open. I'm going to wander off. I'm going to have enough composure about me to go and do it in a different way.
Yeah.
But I don't know what we see in that. I mean, is there any benefit in that? If you're showing that, what do we get from it? What do we learn from it, that athletes respond this way? Is it something that young tennis players should see? Is it something we gain something from? Does it show that they care? Does it show that they are, slightly immature? I think it probably shows all of those things.
I think the viewer loves a tennis meltdown, and we just witnessed one.
If I was a broadcaster, I would show it.
In the context of a tennis match, yeah, you like to see Nick Kyrgios giving it to someone on the other side of the net. you're quite happy. I mean, we weren't happy in the late 70s and early 80s when McEnroe was in his pomp. There was an absolute, inhalation of breath, and that's appalling. We can't have that on a tennis court, can we? Surely.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, there is an element of that still exists in people's minds.
Yeah.
So I don't mind confrontation. I don't mind situations where there's a spark. I'm not entirely sure what I get from watching that.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. What we're actually seeing, what we're actually getting. A privacy debate at the Open has ensued after Coco Gauff this week criticised broadcasters for showing her going off court and smashing a racket to smithereens after losing to Svitolina in the quarterfinals. Now, she wasn't happy at all that in her eyes, her privacy was invaded at that time, when she was highly charged in terms of her emotion. Now world number 2, Iga Swiatek, has added her weight to the debate, claiming that players are being treated like animals in the zoo. Swiatek was stopped for almost 2 minutes by security because she didn't have her accreditation, an incident that ended up on social media and drew 86,000 views. This is Swiatek.
Yeah, the question is like, are we tennis players or are we like animals in the zoo where they are observed like even when they poop, so okay, that was exaggerating obviously, but it would be nice to have some privacy, and it would be nice also to, I don't know, have your own process and not always be like observed. On Wimbledon there are courts like on Orangi, like people with accreditation can get there, but it's without the fans. On Roland Garros, there's Rambois. There's some spaces that you can at least go when you need to, but there are some tournaments where it's impossible and you're constantly like observed. Like we're tennis players, we're meant to be watched on the court, So, and in the press, like that's our job. It's not our job to like be a meme when you forget your accreditation, and it's funny, yeah, for sure. Like people have something to talk about, but for us, like, I don't think it's necessary.
So Swiatek, they're taking it a bit to extremes. Are we tennis players or are we like animals in the zoo where we're observed even when we poop? Marcus Buckland, top tennis broadcaster, joins us live. Marcus, what do you make of all this?
Well, it's a ridiculous exaggeration from Iga Swiatek. Listen, they're playing in one of the biggest events in the sport. What are they expecting? There is privacy. They can go to the locker rooms and have a shower and do the other things they need to do. But quite frankly, they know where these cameras are, Jim. Since 2019 at the Australian Open, there have been cameras in the players' zone, in the bowels of the Rod Laver Arena, in the gym, in the warm-up area, in the corridors. They know that. And Coco knew that when she lost her temper. Frankly, I don't think it's such a bad thing. We're seeing a human side of her. Of course, we don't want youngsters to go smashing their rackets, but it's fine as far as I'm concerned. They are looking, the Australian organisers, to find a deeper connection between the players and the supporters. And I think the more we see of them behind the scenes within reason, the better, quite frankly.
I mean, as you speak, Marcus, on YouTube, we're watching it, the pictures, the images of Gauff hammering her racket into the ground after she was knocked out. But she says she didn't know she was being filmed. She didn't know she was being recorded. I mean, does that make any difference?
No, I mean, she should have known, to be honest, because those cameras haven't just been put up there. I'm afraid it's just part of the deal in this modern era. As Novak Djokovic himself said, it's all about content these days, whether you like it or not. That is part of the deal you sign up for when you're a top player competing at the Australian Open.
But Marcus, I mean, Djokovic is now saying, I saw what happened with Coco. I empathise with her. I agree with her. It's really sad that you can't basically move away anywhere and hide and fume out your frustration, your anger in a way that won't be captured by a camera. So he's not having it either.
Go into the locker room, Jim. If she really wants the privacy to smash those rackets up, she knows she can go into the locker room. Otherwise, you're game for it. At that level, you've got the profile. When you want to sell your products, etc., you welcome the spotlight. You can't really have it both ways these days.
What do you think, Simon?
I think Marcus is right.
I think Marcus has put it quite accurately.
But there's this battle, isn't there? There's this endless battle between the participants of the sport and the paymasters of it and what they get in exchange. And often the paymasters are the broadcasters to some extent, certainly in football terms there is, but notwithstanding that they are in tennis as well. And there's this battle going on about who runs games, who runs the sports. The football players and football authorities want to be challenging one another left, right and centre. You've got tennis the same. Novak is a rebel-rouser at the best of times about what he thinks is an entitlement for the tennis players and what they should and shouldn't be able to have. If she wants to go and smash a racket up, which I, quite frankly, as a spontaneous circumstance, I can understand. If you smash it up on the court, I can understand it because it's instantaneous. You have the wherewithal to walk down a corridor and then do it then. It evades me. And if she can walk down a corridor, then she can walk into the locker room and do it there. And this idea, I do have an empathy because I regularly argue with you about the media's entitlement, about what it thinks it's entitled to and where it thinks it should be able to go next in the terms of football terms, from whether it should be filming inside the dressing room, whether it should be filming inside the dugout. And of course, the media wants more, as much as it can possibly get, and it's a Faustian pact. As a top tennis player, you know, as Marcus has just laid out, and we had this with Naomi Osaka a few years ago, where she broke down in tears, yet managed to appear the next week on the front page of a magazine because she couldn't cope with the press invasion. You can't have it both ways. You want to be in that. You want all the recognition and all the rewards. And by the way, here's a newsflash for you kids: in about 5 years' time, you're not hitting the tennis ball. No one will be taking a photograph of you anymore. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, this was Norrie when he was asked why are the Brits underachieving.
I think there's so much to come. If there's so many players, younger players especially, coming through. I think it was a little bit unfortunate with some injuries this year, as Jack as well. But I think we need to be patient, and I don't see why not. There can be at least 5, 6, 7 guys in the top 100, and we're doing everything we can, and I think it will help when Jack's back healthy, and I have no doubt Jack's going to come back firing. I think we have to be patient, but for sure it's coming. We have such great coaches, such great people, and I don't see why not. If everyone's doing the right thing, they can make it because we have the talent.
So we're all home now, but Norrie's saying, Marcus, don't worry, it'll change. Will it?
Well, yeah, who knows, Jim? Listen, peaks and troughs, and Cam makes a very good point. Jack Draper, who's made the semi-finals at the US Open in the not-too-distant past, is a big loss at the moment. If he gets himself fit again, he can definitely challenge at the latter stages of all the slams. Cam himself, okay, a bit of a tough draw. He lost to Zverev, who's through to the semi-finals, of course, tomorrow morning. So there's an element of truth in what he has to say. Jacob Fernley made the second round. Arthur Ferry, by the way, young players had a lot of injury problems. Very talented junior made the second round as well. So hopefully they're going to kick on as well. I'm less encouraged on the women's side of things when you look at Emma Raducanu, who had a really disappointing defeat in round 2. And you do start to wonder if she's ever going to recapture the glories of that incredible run to the US Open title in 2021. You had Katie Bolter and Sonny Cartel make the second rounds as well. What I will say on that front, though, is that there are 2 or 3 very, very talented young girls. There's Hannah Klugman, there's Mika Stojsavljevic, who won the US Juniors the year before last. There's Mimi Ju as well. So there is some talent coming through, but you can never be quite sure, Jim. You can be a great junior. The one thing I will stress, and it's easy to say, yeah, the Brits have performed woefully. This is such a brutal sport. You get a bad draw, a slight injury, you're missing your best player in Jack Draper, you're playing on the back foot anyway. So I don't think we should ever get too overexcited when we have some success, get the words right, some success.
Yeah.
But equally, I don't think we should be too negative when we have a poor Australian Open, as this one has turned out to be from a British point of view.
Marcus, thank you very much indeed. You see, Simon, I think you only appreciate something really good when it's gone, like Sarandi. 2012, 2013, 2016.
Well, he was appreciated at the time, wasn't he?
Major wins by Scotland's Andy Murray.
But he was appreciated at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. But there ain't a conveyor belt
Scotland's
of them
Andy
coming
Murray
through.
that lives in Surrey.
Yes. Yeah. But anyway, we'll see if Cam Norrie can come good at some stage.
Cam Norrie from Johannesburg.
Correct. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.